The aroma of coffee and soft Sunday greetings filled the fellowship hall of Gracepoint Community Church in the affluent suburbs of Greenwood, California. Pastor Michael Thorne, beloved by many, was greeting his congregation with his usual warmth. But days later, that warmth would be replaced by grief. His wife, Eleanor, was dead, victim of a calculated act. This isn't a story of marital betrayal, but of a worshiper's twisted devotion. A silent obsession that grew in the pews and exploded into a crime so shocking it shattered the very foundations of a church and its community. This is a tale of love's deadly crimes, where admiration turned to arsenic. In Greenwood, Pastor Michael was more than a minister. He was a local icon. Under his dynamic leadership, Gracepoint flourished, attracting thousands with vibrant worship and impactful outreach. His sermons were syndicated, his books bestsellers. To many, he was a moral compass, a devoted husband, and proud father. Eleanor Thorne, his wife of 20 years, was the quiet strength behind the pulpit. She coordinated events, comforted members, and raised their 2 children with grace. Together, they were admired, a symbol of success and faith. But deep within the congregation, a dark obsession was brewing. Sarah Miller, in her mid-30s, was a quiet, reliable volunteer. She worked in the church office, led children's Sunday school, and was always available. To most, she was simply a helpful member, perhaps too helpful. Behind her meek demeanor burned a dangerous love for Pastor Michael. Not a relationship of reality, but of delusion. Every smile and gesture was reinterpreted as intimacy. She believed they were spiritually connected, meant to be together. In her mind, Eleanor wasn't his wife. She was the barrier. Sarah's obsession deepened. She memorized the Thornes' routines, collected Eleanor's discarded items, and built a shrine in her apartment. Photos, sermon notes, even tissue used by Michael. It was a fantasy world where Eleanor was gone, and Sarah reigned by his side. She began researching poisons, how they worked, how they could go undetected. What began as fascination grew into intent. She saw Eleanor's death not as murder, but as divine will. Outwardly, Sarah maintained her image as the perfect parishioner. No one suspected the darkness within. Then came the Spring Festival. The annual event was bustling with life. Eleanor oversaw the refreshment tent, and Sarah, naturally, volunteered to help. It was here that she saw her opportunity. Just something to help you relax, Sarah thought as she slipped a tasteless, odorless poison into Eleanor's iced tea. You've been working so hard. Eleanor drank it unaware. Later that day, she experienced a splitting headache, dizziness, and nausea. Concerned, Pastor Michael took her home. Sarah stayed behind, cleaning up, hiding her anticipation behind a calm smile. At home, Eleanor's condition worsened rapidly. By the time paramedics arrived, she was convulsing and struggling to breathe. Michael held her hand, helpless. Sarah, from afar, felt victorious. She'll be gone soon, she thought. He'll be free. He'll be mine. That night, Eleanor Thorne died. The cause was unclear, labeled as sudden illness. The church grieved. Michael was devastated. But the autopsy changed everything. Traces of a rare, potent poison were discovered. Investigators retraced Eleanor's final hours, what she ate, drank, and who she interacted with. Suspicion turned toward the refreshment tent and Sarah. Why had she shown such interest in Eleanor that day? Why had she been alone near the drinks? And why, when police searched her apartment, did they find a disturbing diary? The diary revealed fantasies and confessions, visions of a future with Pastor Michael, resentment toward Eleanor, and explicit plans to free him. Sarah Miller was arrested. The quiet volunteer was suddenly a national headline. Pastor's wife poisoned by obsessed churchgoer. The trial became a media circus. Reporters surrounded the courthouse. Psychologists debated obsession and delusion. Leaked diary entries stunned the public. Sarah described hearing God's voice telling her Eleanor was in the way. Pastor Michael, normally composed, appeared broken. The trial dragged his private grief into public view. His children were now under scrutiny. His church struggled under the weight of betrayal and scandal. The prosecution painted Sarah as cold and calculating. The defense argued mental illness and diminished responsibility. But the jury wasn't swayed. The verdict, guilty of first-degree murder. As the words echoed in the courtroom, Sarah screamed. A guttural sound of disbelief and collapse. Cameras flashed. Her once ordinary face became the face of obsession turned deadly. Gracepoint Community Church would never be the same. Trust was broken. Faith was shaken. Eleanor was mourned. But so too was the church's sense of safety. The tragedy was a chilling reminder. Obsession can wear a friendly face, and love, when twisted by fantasy, can become a weapon. Sarah Miller wasn't a monster in appearance. She was a helper, a familiar face. But inside, delusion had taken root. Pastor Michael eventually returned to the pulpit, but he was never the same. His sermons carried new weight. His once bright smile had dimmed. Eleanor's loss was not only personal. It was public, painful, and permanent. Do you think the pressures of fame and Michael's respected position contributed to Sarah's delusion? Did admiration and spiritual authority make it easier for her obsession to grow? What do you believe could have prevented this tragic descent into obsession and murder? Drop a comment below.